the story for us. Hasina, thank you very much indeed for your time. So this shutdown doesn't necessarily mean that affected areas will run out of water.
Yes, Blaine, as you've mentioned, it doesn't mean that there will be no water running in our pipes, that the taps will run dry. What it is saying is that the amount of water that would usually be purified and supplied to Johannesburg water is going to be halved from this one purification plant. We know that there's two that supply water to Johannesburg, but one that is the Vereeniging one is going to be only optimally working at half its its percentage at the moment. What we also heard earlier on is that I spoke with the spokesperson for RAN Water, and he clarified which areas, because it's not just Gauteng itself that will be affected. And we're going to take a listen to that now by Justice Mohale.
Water purification plants. We have Zekerbosch, which is the biggest one. It's not in any way going to be affected by today's project. We have another one called Vereeniging water purification plant. That one, it's going to be partially functional because we are going to install a valve between a newly laid pipeline, which is B19, and the existing pipeline, which is B11. The aim for this new pipeline is to augment the supply of raw water into our network as the demand is ever increasing.
We know that this does not mean that the waters are going to run dry, but what exactly is going to happen for water supply in the next 2 days?
What we will be doing will be installing that valve, but we are still going to be purifying. As I'm saying, even in the station that we are going to make those connections, water will be purified partially there. That station, the one that's going to be affected, on daily basis it purifies 1,300 megaliters of water. We are just going to take only 600 megaliters. So which means it will be partially functioning, and people must not be concerned or must not be scared and start stocking water, because that is going to drain our system. And if our system is completely drained, it's going to take some days before we raise the water levels again.
All right, so we know where this pipeline will be. Yes, go ahead, Hasina.
That was Justice Mohale speaking to us. He explained quite, clarifying what exactly is going to be happening and allaying the fears that we will be running dry. But one of the quite important things that he mentioned was that people should not stockpile. Don't go out and fill out buckets of water. Don't go out and, stock up water because that's going to make it worse. Because unlike load shedding, water shedding is quite harder. It's harder to fill up the reservoirs, especially if there's no water being pumped in. So this is going to cause more problems than just what we have right now.
But, not to stock up, that's the advice, but also use water sparingly during this time, isn't it?
Yes, as always, we do know that we still have, restrictions in, and people should be aware of that. Use water, sparingly. Don't waste it in the evening times when there's more people using it and more demand. Try not to put more burden onto the system.
Which areas, Hasina, just remind us, which areas will be affected?
We know that the high-lying areas in Johannesburg would be affected. Those areas that reservoirs are further away from, they might have low pressure. But what they're saying is that they're hoping in Johannesburg we don't have any problems and that water will continue to flow through.
Just look, it's from what I've heard from that interview you just did, it's a massive, massive task, and it's a massive pipeline. Just remind our viewers about the importance of such a valve. What do we know about this valve that's being installed? What's the purpose?
So we do know that water issues have been, and water woes is something that we have nationally across South Africa. One of the main concerns and one of the mitigating factors has always been that we have old, aging infrastructure. And this plan, we spoke earlier to Rand Water, and they explained to us this has been 2 years in the planning. This valve has been in the pipelines, they've been putting it in. So this is the last step, and what it will allow for is more water to then come into Johannesburg, where demand is ever increasing, but also in Mogale City as well as in Rustenburg, which are some of the other areas that the Vereeniging purification plant also feeds.
All right, Hasina Gori, thank you very much indeed for your reporting. Hasina Gori coming to us live from Johannesburg.